Hello, and welcome to the Things I Want My Daughters to Know podcast, the podcast redefining women's health one unfiltered conversation at a time. I'm your host, Jacqueline Rose, and every week I'll sit down with leading women's health experts and real women to share their lived experiences, bust health myths, challenge outdated and uninformed narratives, and explore what's really possible for women. We'll talk about periods, fertility, menopause, hormones, aging, and everything in between. This podcast is for every woman who ever felt confused, dismissed, or left out of the conversation about her own health. It is a space to celebrate women, break the silence, and open up conversations between mothers, daughters, sisters, and friends. Please hit the follow or subscribe button so you don't miss an episode and share this podcast with your daughters, family, and friends. Let's get on with the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Things I Want My Daughters to Know podcast. And today we're going to have a really interesting conversation on one of the things that I love to do the most, and that is challenge the existing conventional narratives and really seeing how far we can push our thoughts in how we really understand women's health, women, our sort of healthcare system, the way that we, work and the way that we interact with the world. And that's something that we're really going to explore today. Sabrina, welcome. You are my guest today. Tell us a little bit who you are, what you do, and we'll get into our conversation.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited for this conversation. This is what I love to talk about, challenging the narratives, really, asking those hard questions and inspiring you to think differently. So, I'm someone who did follow the conventional path. Like as a kid, it was like, okay, here's how you get to success. You need to check all these boxes, like straight A student, follow all the school, like go to university, get your degree,
Yeah.
get a good job. And I did, and I was in advertising, and it was amazing. I was successful, quote unquote, because I had the high paying job and I had the status to go with it. And after 10 years in the industry, probably around the age of 35, I started to feel differently.
Yeah.
And these feelings were so unfamiliar to me that they
Yeah.
scared me.
Yeah.
And as someone who is very positive and ambitious, I was like, okay, like this is the career for me. And all of a sudden, I was like, wait a second, what if I don't want to do this anymore? And I
Yeah.
would wake up and I would dread the thought of going to work. And that was so unfamiliar that I was like, who is this person? I did not recognize myself anymore. And I
Yeah.
realized that I had lost myself in this
Yeah.
idea of chasing success. And so, at the time, this is now 6 years ago, I took a huge risk. I left my safe, secure, successful career
Yeah.
and I gave myself permission to just see what was next. I healed, I got back into connection with myself and what I wanted.
Yeah.
I went back to my first love, which was dance and teaching, which I had left behind because I went into corporate. And through these experiences and through this healing journey, I was able to understand my emotions. I was able to recognize that emotions are just messengers and information. I was able
Yeah.
to learn how to express myself in a way that I didn't have to hold on to all this baggage. And because of the success, now new success for me that I saw within myself of being able to really be this person that I am proud of and that I like, I'm happy and I wake up every morning like excited about my day. I was like, I want to help women do this too. So
Yeah.
that led me to become a coach because I'm like, if I can do it and if I'm feeling this way and I can get through it, I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got into coaching. And now it's been a few years where I just help women who feel like they're at that crossroads or they feel like there's something off. It's like, you know what? It's okay because we all get to that situation. We all
Yeah.
reach a crossroads. And instead of letting doubt and fear and guilt hold you back, like I did, which led to a burnout because I was resisting so much, it's like, let's avoid hitting rock bottom and let's help you and
Yeah.
give you the tools to be able to navigate that, to get to the other side, to be able to live a life that you're truly happy about and that your deepest desires are met. And I feel like we all have the potential. We just maybe need some help sometimes to get there.
Yeah. Amazing. So I love the fact that you work with both demographics. You work with teens in that dance space, and you
Yes.
work with older women in their transitional phases,
Yes.
sort of supporting them on their journey. So you really are sort of crossing those two demographics that, that I want to reach with this podcast, either the mums or the aunts or the, godparents of that younger generation, which is, we know, our daughters' generation. And I
Right.
use that word daughters in a broad context. It doesn't need to be your physical daughter, but your daughters are, the people, the girls you teach, and
Yes.
just giving them your wisdom through dance, I think is amazing. And I do think dance is a fantastic way to really connect with your body. Often it can be technical and depending on which dance style and which modality you're doing, but
Mhm.
just moving your body in that way to be able to listen to your body and have an awareness of how your body moves and
Ah,
allow your body the freedom to move through dance is really quite profound.
Absolutely. It's such a gift. For
Yeah,
me, as I mentioned, emotions, I had to learn how to listen to them and how to express them. But had I known this information when I was a teenager, it would have helped me so much. I'm grateful that I at least had dance because that gets
yeah,
the body moving, it gets the
yeah.
emotions moving. And what I always like to mention is that emotions are energy in motion, emotion, right? Like
Love
so
that.
that means that your emotions need to move. And if it's just like going for a walk, stretching, doing yoga, which you're so familiar with, right?
Yeah,
Those things that just get the energy within you circulating is already a great start. And then if you can even go into something like dance where there's music involved and you have,
yeah,
this additional experience where you're connecting in a different way and you're getting
yeah,
familiar with your body, like there's so many positive benefits.
yeah.
And I see it with my girls too, where as teenagers, there's a lot going on. They're in school. I teach them in school. So it's like there's,
Wow.
yeah, that like they just so many times they arrive in class and they're frustrated, they're anxious because they just had a test or something's coming up or they had an
Yeah,
interaction with somebody where it's like, oh, I just got into an argument or this happened. Like there's so much going
yeah.
on in
So
life.
much drama, so
Oh
much
my goodness, so
drama.
much drama.
Yeah,
And, I was taught when I get into dance class, leave your problems at the door. And I want to change that because I feel like that is a way to further disconnect yourself from what you're
oh,
experiencing. And so, what I invite my students to do is
fascinating.
bring it in. Let's move through it
Yeah, that
because,
is because we always are told leave the problems at the door, just immerse yourself in the dance, immerse yourself in the music, just
yeah,
forget about it and just come and just be.
yes,
That's
which
fascinating what you're saying.
but intentionally, that makes sense. Like, leave your
Yeah,
problems at the door, just
yeah,
be in the moment,
yeah,
be present. But then
yeah.
what
Like
happens when what happens when
leave.
you leave? Your problems are
They're
still
right there waiting for
they're
you.
right there. And so
Yeah,
what tends to happen, like for me, I was like, I was in the moment, I was immersed when I was
yeah.
doing my dance class. But then towards the end of dance class, my brain was like, oh, but don't get too comfortable in this space because look what's right outside the door waiting for you.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
So why not allow yourself another way to move through, right? Like bring your problems in. And do you need to talk about it? I'll always invite them to speak
Yeah,
about what needs to come out. And
yeah,
then there's a moment where this is now where I can use my coaching skills where I don't let
yeah.
them indulge or overindulge. I
Yes.
let them voice and get it out because it
Yeah,
needs to be expressed. And then it's like, okay, did you say everything you needed to say?
yeah,
Yes, great. Let's dance it. Let's move through it.
yeah,
So at least you're honoring what's coming up. You're not pushing it down. You're not leaving it aside, but you're using movement and dance
yeah.
in a
To
safe space.
release it.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Exactly.
Amazing. Amazing. So I mentioned to you that in the last couple of years, I've started, in addition to all my yoga background and my first love being yoga movement,
Yeah.
I've started doing Nia dance, which is much more somatic movement. And it's really interesting what you say, because I think subconsciously, without even realizing it, I think that Nia dance allows you to release your emotions rather than leave them at the door. There is an
Hmm.
element of just, you can move. There is a dance and there is movement and you follow a teacher, but it's not rigid. So if you feel
Hmm.
like you want to up the tempo a bit, or if you feel that today you're a bit more, lethargic or a bit less energy, you can adapt it to your level whilst, following the teacher. But I think there is an element here of release of what you're describing. And I don't think I realized that, because I think, yeah, most of us are told, leave your problems at the door, enjoy this hour, be in this moment.
Right, right.
That your problems will be there when you leave. But yeah, we don't want to
But
pick
then
them
what?
up when we leave. Yeah.
No, because you leave, imagine like you're in this beautiful space where you've just released this energy or you've interacted, you've gotten to touch with your own body and you've moved,
Yeah.
and then you go back to real life and all the problems come back. So there's
Yeah.
definitely an opportunity to merge the two in a way that you can use the movement to work through whatever
Yeah.
problem you're
I love that.
experiencing.
I love that.
And I think, yeah, there's a huge opportunity
Yeah.
there.
Okay, so that's the teens, and that's sort of really
Yes.
supporting the teens. Let's move to your other demographic, because this is where I think things get quite juicy. So you really work with, high achieving women who, similar to yourself, are doing all the things, are living up to the expectations. And we all know that, their expectations are, you go to school, you go to university, you get a great job, you have a partner, you create, a life, whether, without, it's all set and planned for you. And then at a
Yes.
certain point in time, a lot of women turn around and either are like, where did the last 20 years go? Or they don't want to be doing this anymore, whether it's, the profession that they chose or the lifestyle that they chose. Um, and then there is a real, what I call sort of like shaking of the foundations
Yeah.
of everything that he thought, was true.
Mhm.
So I'm actually going to reframe some of your language in a minute, but I really want to just hear from you about what you see with your clients. What are the things that they think are sort of the conventional wisdom or the myth that they're perpetuating? And then how do you
Mhm.
come and sort of, rattle their cage a little bit?
I love that. There's definitely this conditioning of I need to check off all these boxes and follow all these rules, and I need to, yes, go to school, higher education, get the degree, get the job, get the husband or the partner, and have the family, and set yourself up for success and save for retirement. Like there's so many
Yeah,
steps that you need to take.
yeah,
And I realized that I was doing it in one aspect, like I was following those steps for my career, but in my personal life, I was going against the rules. I'm not married, I don't have children, and that is my choice.
yeah,
And you mentioned daughters earlier. Like, I believe my girls are my daughters, and they
yeah.
actually slip and they call me mom a few times in class. So it's like, and I love when that happens. I'm like, yes, I am your dance mom,
Yeah.
absolutely. So I feel like I'm able to have that connection with them,
Yeah.
regardless if they're not my like birth children. But there's definitely a challenging there because yes, there were times where I could have quote unquote settled down. But what ended up happening in those relationships, when I felt that there was settling that was happening, or when I saw that, like, okay, there's potential for this relationship to turn into marriage and then have children, oddly enough, my entire body started to reject the idea. And I started to get what the teens now call the ick. Like I started to be repulsed by this idea and this person
Yeah.
who once I was in love with, and all of a sudden I can't look at them the same way. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is my body
Yeah.
that's telling me that this is not for me. And so through that experience and even seeing clients who think that they need to do things a certain way, I always want them to check in with their body. Like, what is
Yeah.
your body telling you? How are you feeling? Is this something that you really want? And if
Yeah.
not, I want to normalize that. I want to validate that it's okay to want something different. And
Yeah.
so my communication, my messaging, my languaging is always around rewriting the rules, breaking the rules, like creating your own story, designing your own life. It's like just because so and so did it a certain way and they're successful,
Yeah.
amazing, but you don't have to do it that way.
Yeah. It's amazing. I find it in a number of the conversations I've had for this podcast that still in 2025, there still are so many narratives and preconceived ideas around women in all different areas that still sit so strong, despite the fact that we really have, broken the glass ceiling in so many areas, despite the fact that we are strong, capable women that can really achieve anything. There still are these like deeply ingrained narratives that
Yeah.
we feel that we have to follow, and
Mhm.
the thought of doing it a bit differently for some women is so much surrounded in fear. And
Yeah.
they're not listening to the whispers and the messages that their body is sending them. And they're not paying attention because how could they possibly do it differently? It just doesn't really compute, despite the fact that we
Absolutely.
are living in this day and age where really anything is possible for
Yeah.
women in our societies.
Right. That's such a good point. And, reflecting on that and maybe understanding the reasons why, for me, what I see and what I've experienced is that there's still a lot of fear around judgment or the opinion of others of like, if I do it a certain way, what will they think? What will they say? That's what
Yeah,
held me back from leaving my job at one point.
yeah,
What will they say? But then I had to realize like no one else is living my reality. This is my life. And
yeah,
that's what I empower women to do. Like those who work with me, you know that you're going to get honest, raw truth. And I'm going to ask you the hard questions. I'm going to have you reflect on what
yeah,
you want because at the end of the day, it's your life. And
yeah,
who are you living for? Yourself. And if you have a family, amazing. Like take them into consideration. But you also have to be nourishing and resourcing yourself
yeah,
to be able to show up for your family.
yeah,
So there's definitely a missing piece where women, and for some reason, women in particular, feel like they have to always be giving, always be doing for others, people pleasing. Oh my goodness, I am a recovering people pleaser. Definitely. I'm working on
yeah,
that. A lot of my clients
yeah.
are as well, right? So
Yeah,
there's
it's
that
so
narrative.
amazing that we really do, and I think maybe that's one thing that I really want the next generation of women to know is that even though, I'm now 50 and I'm definitely, Generation X, and we really are that coming of age generation where we really started to learn things and slightly differently, that things were possible that maybe they weren't possible for my mother's generation, for our mother's
Right.
generation. But somehow we still were limited.
Hmm.
And the fear, the expectations, the societal structures
Yeah.
still existed and still exist for us. And that sort of like opening the window and peeping outside and seeing what else is available. I
Yeah.
think for the next generation of daughters, I really want my hope is that for them it is just more normal. Um,
Yes.
but what are you seeing in terms of and I'm asking you a leading question in terms of the age that you're seeing that the women are coming to you? When do you find, like, what is the age group that you're finding the women are like turning around and like, something's a little bit different here? So
Yeah.
what sort of age range are you seeing that happen with?
Such a great question. Um, so it happens, you know what, around 2021, because there
Mm,
are clients that come to me at that age, and I totally get it because they're beginning their life and they're scared to make the wrong decisions
vision.
or to choose things that will not serve them. Where with those girls and women, I'm encouraging them to choose something that feels right for now and to also validate that if you change your mind along the way, that's okay too. Because then the next phase would be around 35, like what
Yeah,
happened with me, like early 30s into maybe like throughout your 30s into your early 40s. There's a lot there too that you start asking yourself questions.
yeah,
Maybe you've been in your career for a certain length of time and you're kind of starting to question, is this how I want to spend the rest of my life?
yeah,
So there's those two groups, I would
yeah.
say, those two age groups.
So I would say that a lot of the second age group, the sort of late 30s, early 40s, that sort of waking up and wondering, that feeling, noticing something's changed, I actually would attribute from my background and my perspective to that early signs of perimenopause, of something is beginning to change. and you're not really quite sure what it is. We always think of menopause. I actually just wrote a post about this today. We always think of menopause as this reproductive, hormone reproductive experience. Actually, menopause is a much more profound journey of identity, partly.
Mm.
And all those things that you were saying, for me, from my menopause, perspective, really sounds like early perimenopause of that what worked for me before isn't really working for me now because they're beginning to move into that transitional stage of menopause, which is going to last a while for them until they hit postmenopause. And postmenopause is the grand hurrah. Postmenopause is where opportunity and adventure and excitement, that's all when that happens. And obviously that could be, in your 50s or,
Mm.
around that time. But women who start to sort of have like that itch of like something isn't right here, for me in my language, I identified that as those early perimenopause signs that something is about to change.
Mm.
And it's really interesting hearing how you've expressed it,
Yes.
because I think that is how that is the physical or emotional expression of what they're going through, of that early perimenopause.
That's fascinating to me when you say it
Yeah,
in that way because I know like for myself we're starting to see some signs of perimenopause and I'm like, "Oh my
yeah,
goodness, it's starting to happen."
yeah,
But now I'm so happy that there's more research around it, that it's more mainstream because we're learning that there are so many different symptoms. It's not
yeah,
just like you said the reproductive, it's
yeah,
there's so much more that's going on in your body.
yeah,
And so, for sure, it feels natural that you would also start to question your habits, your lifestyle, like what it is that you want to do. You maybe question
yeah,
your identity, question who you are. That's a big part of it, of starting to ask yourself some questions. So,
yeah,
I believe
yeah,
that, yeah, they definitely go hand in
yeah,
hand, which is kind of cool.
yeah. So, what type of do you have like specific techniques or tools that you're using to help guide your clients? Sort of how are you helping your clients through their transitional sort of period? I say transitional because it could be, it's
Yes,
it's a life transition. There is
it
sometimes, and
is.
whether it's personal, professional, or anything else, they're going through some sort of transitional experience.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, whether they want to change careers or they just want to have new habits or change their lifestyle, have more balance in their life, like there's definitely some change that they need to navigate. So there is
Yeah,
transition there. I like to work with a variety of tools. Some are mindset. I usually start with mindset tools because I think it's important
right.
to start understanding what are your thoughts, and if you can change your perspective, change your point of view, start to know how to reframe your thoughts. Often, our way of thinking is the leading cause of our suffering.
Yeah,
The way that we think, how we have doubt, how we have limiting beliefs, the first thoughts that come into our minds that hold us back, and then we start to believe them.
yeah,
That is really the contributing factor, in my opinion, to how we are not able to move forward,
yeah,
how we're stuck. We get into autopilot, right? And then we start to just live from this space of like repetition and
yeah,
familiarity. So
yeah,
let me also mention that anytime you're introducing change, there's a level of discomfort because it's not familiar. And so
yeah,
your brain is trained to flag and alert you because there is a potential threat.
yeah,
And so by doing the mindset work, you understand that you don't need to necessarily react in the way that your brain wants you to and go into that fight, flight, or freeze of your nervous system.
yeah,
There are other ways that you can help yourself to really take a step back and say, like, okay, well, am I actually being threatened or is it just a little discomfort? And how can you move through it?
yeah,
So, mindset work to me, we always start with that because there's a level of awareness.
yeah,
Then I love to go into emotional and somatic work. There's such a powerful shift that
yeah,
happens when you start to move those emotions, when you start to accept the resistance as well.
mm,
For me, the work that we do, It's not about powering through or pushing through your resistance. It's about
Yeah.
welcoming and acknowledging that this is coming up for a reason and understanding a little bit more about why it's coming up so that you can honor it, accept that
Yeah.
it's there, and then decide how you want to move forward. It's leaning into the fear. It's embracing change. It's
Yeah.
doing the thing that scares you because often what you want is just on the other side of that fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so giving you those tools to be able to move through. And then we always end with like strategic steps. What is the behavioral change that you can start to put in place?
Yeah.
And I am someone who will always advocate for taking that first step. You do not have to have the entire plan figured out. And I'm someone who thought I did. And so, speaking from
Yeah.
someone who's tried that and noticed that it didn't work,
Yeah.
let's have the goal in mind, the big picture, but you don't have to have it all figured out before you take
Yeah.
action. You take action first, and the clarity will come. The plan will unfold in the way
Yeah.
that it's meant to because you're moving forward.
Yeah.
And
And
so
it's
that's
funny
kind of how.
because as you're saying that, high achieving women, they always want to have it figured out. We want
Oh,
to have
yeah.
the plan in place. We want to know these are the steps, this is the end goal, this is what's going to
Yeah.
happen, these are going to be the results. And so taking that person to then say, take a breath, one step at
Yes.
a time. We're not really quite sure where this is going to end up. That
Yes.
that process must be, yeah, very, very hard and transformative.
And for the ambitious, high achieving woman, it's kind of like redefining where that ambition is being placed.
Mm,
That it doesn't need to be placed in the traditional sense of having it all figured out or like achieving. How can
yeah,
the achievement not be tied to the outcome and the goal, and it can be just in the process of you uncovering and discovering who you are?
yeah,
That's what I want to redefine and question as well. A lot of the work I do also, there's curiosity, there's questioning your beliefs, there's questioning the way that you've been doing things that no longer
yeah,
works for you, and how can we change that?
yeah,
So it's a lot of inner work first, because I think the inner work is what then allows you to change the outer world. And the
yeah,
outer work is then taking those steps that are tied to the inner work that we've done together.
yeah. How do women sort of react or respond when you start talking like that? Like that really must be, I mean, I guess they know what they're getting when they come to work with you, but there
Yes.
really must be a lot of fear, a lot of maybe even, so like sort of like not really taking it seriously and like, I can't, like, what are you talking about? Like, how is that even possible? Like, this is just the way it is. And now you want me to go and like,
Yeah.
change it 180 degrees or maybe not even 180 degrees, but like to really start challenging
Mhm.
their um, beliefs around how they thought things had to be.
What I've learned is that I can't convince people. I'm here to speak my truth and to show you what's possible. And when
Yeah,
you're ready, you'll reach out to
yeah,
me.
yeah,
In the beginning, I was the advocate for change and we all need to do it together and let me show you how and come with
yeah,
me. And it was forceful.
yeah,
And it was not the direction that I wanted to continue in. It felt not aligned with who I am. It didn't feel authentic to me. It was really like that outward cheerleader, like it wasn't me. And
yeah,
so I learned that quickly, and I'm happy I
yeah,
did because I was able to really redirect myself. And now
yeah,
for me, it's about embodying the change that I want people to see, like doing it for myself, leading by example, continuing to show up and speak about it in this way, and
yeah,
just kind of, if I could say, plant the seed, right? Plant the seed so that women can start reflecting. Because,
yeah,
yes, the minute change is introduced into the conversation, there's resistance. And that's not the point that I want you to be working with me at, because then nothing's going to
yeah,
happen. I
yeah,
want you to be thinking about things a bit differently, reflecting for yourself. And once you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm nervous, I'm scared, but I'm a little excited. And when you feel that little excitement, it's like, oh, there's opportunity here. Maybe it's
yeah,
time.
yeah,
Because you need to feel both. If
yeah,
you're resistant, if you don't want it, well, nothing's going to happen. Like, I'm not here
yeah,
to butt heads with you. I'm not here to force it. There's nothing that should be forced. What needs to happen in this coaching space is that I help you unveil the path. I help you get out of your own way. I'm not here to force you to make a new path that doesn't fit with who you are. I'm here to
Yeah.
help you come home to yourself and to really figure it out for you. But you need to be ready and
Yeah.
willing to be able to do the work for yourself because I'm not going to do it for you. I'm going to guide
Yeah.
you and give you the
Yeah.
tools, but the work happens within you.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that. And I think that's really, really powerful because um, no one is going to change for someone else. It's got
No.
to come for themselves. And yeah, that's really, really fascinating. Tell me, what do you see are some of the conventional wisdoms that women have that keep them limited? Sort of what are the things that women think? And again, I'm not even thinking about like the sort of like the expectations, but maybe some of the things even that like they're hearing from other people, like for example, just as an example, in our medical field, where women will go to their doctors about certain things, and women, we're now using these terms like being gaslit or not being taken seriously, or
Right.
being told that come back in 6 months, and all these different types of things. Are you seeing that your clients, or just from your work, that there are these conventional wisdoms that women are really holding on to that just don't really serve them anymore?
There is a level of needing to do things a certain way or only thinking of success in one aspect.
Yeah,
Kind of being limited to the way things need to play out or the order it needs to be achieved in. There's
yeah.
definitely that in terms of achievement and outcome. But what is most common is the lack of confidence in self or the
Mm.
lack of trust in self to do things differently. With that
Even
comes,
if they are high achieving business career professional
yeah,
women.
absolutely, because maybe you're high achieving and you've built a career, but now you want to do something different and you start to question if you're actually capable of that change.
Yeah.
And then you start to question what will others think. So I feel like the confidence or the lack thereof is putting the acceptance of self onto others. Like you're looking
Mm.
outward for the validation to see like if I do something different, what are they going to think? Like I'm changing I'll speak for myself. I'm changing careers. I'm becoming a coach. Who am I to be something different? Even if I've built a career and I know that I could probably do it again because I'm resilient and I'm very
Yeah.
passionate about it, there's still the doubt of what will they think? What will they say? Will I be accepted? Will I belong? Right? Like there's definitely so much that comes into play that when we're listening to everyone else, we forget to listen to ourselves. And so there's this inner trust that needs to be rebuilt. There's this inner voice that we need to start listening to and question and know the difference
Mm.
between the instinct and the inner critic. And then the confidence piece comes with taking action.
Right.
That is really something that I work with all of my clients on. And, they often come to me saying, I want to try out for this new thing, or I want to audition for a dance, or I want to apply for a new job, or I want to, like just introduce change into my life, but I don't know how. So there's a lack of confidence that they're able to do it, that they're capable
Yeah.
of doing it. And so by unpacking everything that I had mentioned earlier, but then most importantly, by taking those first steps, you start to prove to yourself that you are capable, that you can figure it out along the way. And that in itself builds confidence.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's a common thread as well.
Interesting. You mentioned success, that
Yes.
women can have success in one area of their lives, but then don't realize that they could have success in other areas of their lives. That success is maybe very limited to something that feels manageable or doable or expected. Like professional success is expected, but maybe personal success, whether that be, in a partnership, in a marriage, single, whatever that may look like for you, is like
Right.
not really considered relevant or important. How do you see
Mhm.
that sort of different dimensions of success, what they are willing to accept and what they have resistance to?
Interesting question. Definitely, there are some women who focus in one area of their life more than the other. For example, they're going to focus on their career and they're going to build up their career. And when they're too focused in one thing, then they miss out on
Yeah,
building in another way. So I
yeah,
think there's definitely, one of the first exercises that I do when I meet clients in our first session is this kind of like it's a wheel of life that's sometimes referred to in that way, where
yes,
you're looking at all of the categories in your life and you're
yes,
looking at at what point are you satisfied or feel fulfilled in these areas.
yeah,
And the goal is to have balance between and harmony between these areas to really feel like
yeah,
you're fulfilled in all the aspects. But often what we do is we overload or we overgive in one aspect and the other aspects are lacking. So how can we start to, fill them up so that they're equal or they get to a point where you feel like, okay, I'm thriving in all aspects of my
yeah,
life.
yeah,
So I think with career and family or relationships, there's definitely like, and I'll mention again, like the visual checkbox of things that you can do to be successful, quote unquote, in the conditioned
yeah,
society. But we forget to take into account how you feel. Like, how do you feel when you've achieved all of this success in these areas? Because I feel like that's something that we need to pay more attention to
right.
and to be less about how it looks and more about how it feels to you. And
Feels,
that's what I want to invite women to do. Like,
yeah,
you have the big house, you have the beautiful family, you have the career, but how do you feel on the inside?
yeah, yeah,
Which is more important to
amazing.
me.
Yeah, and a very difficult question for many people to ask.
Yes.
Wow, this has been quite powerful, and I'm sure that for many of the people listening, it's really getting them to ask some maybe even uncomfortable questions, but let's just say questions. Um, the question that I'm asking all of my guests as we end the our conversation is this podcast is called Things I Want My Daughters to Know. I really want to know what you want your daughters, nieces, goddaughters to know. What is the message that you really want to impart to that, as you said, your students or your daughters, what's that thing that you really want them to know as they, grow up?
That it's less about the destination, meaning you don't have to have it all figured out. You don't, when you leave school, when you graduate high school and you're going to university, even when you graduate university, you can choose to pursue one chapter and let it be a chapter. It doesn't have to be the whole book. You don't have to decide right away how the rest of your life is going. You're allowed to
Yeah,
change your mind and really just honor you as a person, how you feel, what it is that you want to achieve for yourself, placing
yeah,
less importance on the external validation and really coming home to yourself and allowing yourself to really, live a life that feels good to you and build that from the beginning. And you don't have to then revisit at 40 years old and say like, oh, well, that whole entire chapter of my life no longer serves me. Let me rewrite it.
yeah,
It's kind of like treating it as smaller chapters of your life along the way and really allowing yourself to adapt into who you are as a person, because
yeah,
I think what I want everyone to understand, no matter your age, is that it's normal to evolve, to grow, to change as a person. And
yeah,
so naturally things around you and things that you're interested in, your lifestyle will adapt accordingly. So allow
yeah,
yourself, instead of meeting it with resistance because you feel like it needs to be a certain way, allow yourself to be open to what these new opportunities could look like. And
yeah,
then be able to decide if that's the direction you want to go in.
yeah. I think that's really powerful that you don't need to have the end of the book figured out when you go to university, or just because you go to university and do this, that doesn't mean
Right.
that's your
Exactly.
path set forever. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, really powerful. Sabrina, the time has really just flown by, but thank you so much for being with us. Tell me, where can people reach you? How can they find you if they want to connect with you? If they want to follow you, where are you?
Thank you so much. My website would be a great place to start. So it's sabrinadelduca.com. More about me, my services, what I offer, even opportunities for schools, for, educational facilities, bringing workshops in there, not just dance, but emotional intelligence
Amazing.
as well. And then on socials, I'm on Instagram, Duchess Sabrina. I also have a podcast, Get Into Flow, where it's mostly mindset shifting, where I talk with guests about just like different perspectives. And again, thinking differently, challenging the narrative. So,
Amazing.
yeah, connect with me, send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. And thank you,
Yeah.
Jacqueline, for this opportunity.
Amazing. Thank you, Sabrina. This has been really great. Really got me thinking, and I hope all our listeners too. So thank you for joining us for this conversation, and I look forward to seeing you at our next conversation on this podcast, Things I Want My Daughters to Know. Have a great day.